You've got to be kidding me, I croaked, my voice cracking like brittle glass as I gaped at the bank statement glowing on my phone screen. Every dime I'd spent years scraping together for a down payment, poof, gone. Where's my money, Mom? I demanded, staring at Lisa, who didn't even glance up from her coffee mug. She swirled it lazily, steam curling up like nothing was wrong. Oh, chill out, Sophie, she said, her tone as flat as if she'd misplaced a sock, not my life savings. It went to something important. Important? I nearly choked on the word, my hands trembling as I gripped my phone tighter. It's all gone. Where did it go? Her eyes flicked to Tom, my stepdad, lounging beside her with a smug grin, swirling his own coffee like we were gossiping over brunch. The party, Lisa said, brushing it off like she just told me where the remote was. We needed a little extra to make it special. You used my savings for your anniversary party? My voice shook, rage bubbling up. That was for my house. You had no right. Tom let out a low chuckle, leaning back in his chair like a king on a throne. We're your parents, Sophie, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. We don't owe you a damn thing. Family shares. You'll get over it. My name is Sophie, and for as long as I can remember, Lisa and Tom have treated me like a spare tire. Handy when they need me, forgotten when they don't. My dad passed when I was 12, leaving behind a gaping hole in my heart and a modest inheritance he'd meant to kickstart my future. He trusted Lisa to manage it until I could handle it myself. Big mistake. She turned it into her personal ATM. For years I let it slide. I bit my tongue when she dipped into the fund for emergencies or bailed Tom out of his latest credit card mess. But this wasn't a petty cash grab. This was my entire down payment, $25,000, torched on caterers, fancy decorations, and some overpriced venue just so they could strut for their friends. I wasn't just pissed. I was gutted. I'd clawed my way to that money, extra shifts, no vacations, a shoebox apartment, all for nothing. In one selfish swipe, they'd ripped my dream away. I want it back, I said, forcing my voice steady. You're going to pay me back. Every cent. Lisa rolled her eyes, clinking her mug on the table. Don't be so dramatic, Sophie. It's not like you're sleeping on the street. You can save again. It's not about that. I snapped my control frame. You stole from me. Tom smirked, clearly loving the chaos. Technically, it was your dad's money, he said, leaning forward. And we're your parents. We decide what's best for the family. That word family hit me like a punch. They'd wielded it like a weapon for years, guilting me into silence whenever they crossed a line. But this wasn't family. This was robbery. I'm not letting this go, I said, my voice quaking with fury. Lisa shrugged, picking up her coffee like she hadn't just shattered my trust. Do what you have to, she said. But don't expect an apology. We did what we had to. I stormed out of their house that day, my chest tight with rage. My best friend, Mia, was the first person I called. I spilled it all, pacing my cramped apartment as the betrayal sank its claws deeper. They're unreal, Mia said, her voice sharp with disbelief. How do they think this is okay? Because they don't give a damn, I shot back, bitterness lacing every word. To them, I'm just a piggy bank they can smash open whenever they feel like it. What are you going to do? She asked. I didn't have an answer yet. Part of me wanted to scream until they felt my pain. Another part wanted to curl up and disappear. But the part my dad had raised, the part that refused to roll over, knew exactly what was next. I'm getting my money back, I said, my tone hardening. Even if I have to call the cops. By the time I hung up with Mia, my anger had sharpened into resolve. Lisa and Tom had crossed a line they couldn't uncross. And I was done being the quiet daughter who let family excuse everything. They'd stolen from me. Now they'd face the fallout. The next morning, I called the bank, confirming what I'd feared. Lisa had drained my savings using an old joint authorization I'd stupidly left in place years ago, just in case. 2 weeks before their party, she'd siphoned every penny without a word. That's not legal, right? I asked the bank manager, my voice trembling but firm. It's murky, he admitted cautiously. She had access as a joint holder, but if those funds were meant for you, it's worth fighting legally. Thank you, I said, scribbling down his advice. My next call was to Rachel, a lawyer Mia swore by. Over coffee that afternoon, I laid it all out, the account, the theft. Lisa's smug dismissal. Rachel's pen danced across her notepad, her eyes narrowing as I spoke. This isn't just wrong, it's borderline criminal. she said when I finished. Even with joint access. There are limits, especially if you can prove it was your money. Next step, file a police report to start a paper trail. Then we demand repayment. If they balk, which I bet they will, we take it further. The idea of cops made my stomach flip, but thinking of the overtime I'd worked, the trips I'd skipped, the sacrifices I'd made, it steeled me. Lisa and Tom thought I'd roll over because I was their kid. Time to prove them wrong. Filing the police report felt like jumping off a cliff. Terrifying but freeing. Sitting across from the officer, I handed over bank statements Rachel had helped me gather. So your mom accessed your account without permission and spent it on a party? He summed up, pen hovering over the form. Yes, I said. Steady now. I didn't know until it was gone. He nodded, scribbling notes. Unauthorized use of funds, he said. We'll open a case and talk to them. Keep your lawyer in the loop. Leaving the station, a flicker of triumph sparked in my chest. For once, they wouldn't wiggle free. The storm hit 2 days later when Lisa called, her voice razor sharp. What the hell, Sophie? The police showed up asking about your stupid savings. It's exactly what it looks like, I said coolly. You stole from me. Now you deal with it. Stole? She scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. We're family. That money was for all of us. No, it wasn't, I fired back. It was mine. Dad left it for me and you had no right to touch it. Tom's voice cut in from the background. Thick with mockery. Come on, don't tell me you're serious. What's next, dragging us to court? If I have to, I said. You did this to yourselves. Lisa let out a harsh laugh. You're delusional if you think this'll work. We'll see, I said, hanging up. Meanwhile, Rachel sent a formal demand letter, laying out what they owed and setting a deadline. Predictably, they ignored it. They're digging in, Rachel said at our next meeting, a glint in her eye. Which is perfect. The more they resist, the worse it looks for them. And if they keep refusing? I asked. We escalate, she said with a shrug. But you've got this. The police report, bank records, your dad's will, we've got a rock-solid case. Her confidence fueled mine. For years, Lisa and Tom had acted untouchable. Now I was the one with power. The tipping point came when Tom posted a smug photo from their party on social media, him grinning with a champagne flute. Lisa in a rented designer gown, caption gushing about their special night. My blood boiled. They were still basking in my money, oblivious to the hammer about to drop. Enjoy it while it lasts. I muttered, screenshotting it for evidence. When I showed Rachel, she smirked. They're handing us ammo, she said. Let's make that toast one they'll choke on. A week later, Rachel called as I sipped coffee at my kitchen table. They've been served, she said, her voice crisp with victory. The demand's official. And the police are following up with an investigation notice. I leaned back, relief mixing with anticipation. How do you think they'll take it? They'll freak, she said. And when they do, they'll either fight harder or fold. Either way, we've got them. Sure enough, Lisa called that day, her voice a frantic mess. Sophie, what are you doing? You're really dragging us through this over a misunderstanding. I took a slow breath. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Mom. You stole from me. If you thought I'd let it go, you misjudged me. We didn't steal, she yelled. We borrowed it for the party. You should be proud we celebrated as a family. I laughed, the sound raw and bitter. Celebrate? You mean parade my money around while I'm left picking up the pieces? That's not family, that's greed. Tom snatched the phone, his tone oily. You're making a mountain out of a molehill, kid. No one's buying the sob story. We're your parents, we've sacrificed for you. Don't you owe us? Owe you? My voice cracked, fury spilling over. For stealing what wasn't yours? For laughing when I begged you to fix it? No, Tom. I owe you consequences, and they're coming. That night, the police knocked on their door. Rachel had warned me it wasn't an arrest, just questions, but I couldn't help picturing their smug faces crumbling. Lisa called again, her bravado gone, replaced by a shaky plea. Sophie, please, she said, voice breaking. You didn't need to sick the cops on us. We can work this out. We tried that, I said flatly. You mocked me. Now it's too late. This could destroy us, she whispered. Do you want that for your own mother? The irony burned. My own mother, as if she hadn't torched our bond first. You did this, I said quietly. Not me. A week later, we faced off at mediation. Rachel sat beside me, a steady anchor, while Lisa and Tom squirmed across the table. They looked smaller now, their arrogance deflated. The mediator, a calm guy with glasses, started us off. "We're here to resolve the unauthorized use of Sophie's savings," he said. "Sophie, go ahead." I nodded, my voice even. "That money was for my house. I saved for years. Lisa and Tom drained it without asking and spent it on a party. When I demanded it back, they laughed. I'm here to reclaim what's mine." Lisa tried to cut in, but the mediator stopped her. "You'll get your turn." She slumped, fuming. When she spoke, her voice wavered. "We didn't mean harm," she said. "We thought it was for the family. Sophie's young, she can save again. We didn't expect her to go this far." "Didn't expect it?" Rachel snapped. "You emptied her account and brushed her off. That's theft, not a family favor." Tom started to argue, but the mediator silenced him. "Facts only," he said. "The evidence shows the money was Sophie's. You repay it now or face a lawsuit, maybe charges." Lisa's face flushed. "We don't have $25,000 lying around. It's gone on the party." "Then find a way," the mediator said coolly. "Or we escalate." Silence fell. Then Tom leaned in, voice low. "What about a payment plan?" Rachel smirked. "It's a start," she said. "But Sophie decides." I studied them, two people who'd once loomed so large, now scrambling. "Fine," I said. "A payment plan. In writing. Miss one and it's over." They nodded, deflated. As we left, Rachel squeezed my shoulder. "You nailed it. They won't forget this." The agreement was signed that day, and walking out I felt lighter. It wasn't just the money, though, that mattered. It was about fighting back. For years I'd let them walk over me, swallowing their crap for family. Not anymore. The first payment hit a week later. Seeing it in my account soothed the sting a little. Mia came over with takeout and wine to celebrate. "To never letting anyone trample you again," she toasted. "To standing up," I replied, clinking her glass. That night I realized how much I'd changed. I'd always put them first, but this taught me boundaries weren't selfish, they were survival. Lisa called a few days later. Her tone soft, unsure. "Sophie, just checking in," she said, like we hadn't just battled it out. "Is this about the payments?" I asked, neutral. "No," she said quickly. "I just wanted to see how you are." I didn't buy it. She was fishing, testing this new me she couldn't control. "I'm fine," I said. "And I expect the next payment on time." She sighed and hung up. Weeks turned into months. I rebuilt my savings, my confidence. I worked extra shifts, budgeted hard, and I'd real estate listings. The house dream lived again, fueled by my grit and their payments. Each deposit was a win, proof I'd taken charge. One evening, scrolling listings, I found it. A small, charming place on the city's edge. Not flashy, but mine. I bookmarked it, smiling. It was slower than I'd hoped, but it was real. Lisa and Tom kept paying, grumbling occasionally, but Rachel shut down their whining fast. They were stuck. Later, driving by that house, I parked and stared. I pictured my furniture inside, my life unfolding. It wasn't just a building, it was everything I'd fought for. My dad flashed in my mind. He'd wanted this for me, a foundation. Lisa and Tom tried to steal it, but I'd won it back. He'd be proud, not just of the house, but of me. I smiled, the road ahead mine to pave.